30 days. I'm gonna put a cross charge against you. That'll be the very thing that'll send you. I'm gonna see you be back home in 30 days.
Hey Zach, Dan here. I just want to tell you about a really lovely meal I just had with my sister.
So I have this friend, Dan, and he's had a trying time lately. And by lately, I mean like the last year and a half. Dan's a guy I met about 10 years ago, and just immediately sensed that he was a kindred spirit, a person who was creative first and applied that creativity toward a purpose second. I've spoken a lot on this podcast about that tendency toward unfocused creative energy that I have. You know, what I like about it and what I don't like about it. Lately, I would say that I've learned to work with that tendency of mine rather than against it, at least professionally. I currently have, 40 different projects in various states at work, and I bounce wildly between them, and it works. At home, with my family, it can be an issue. I'm very daydreamy, I always have been, and it sometimes keeps me from being present when I should. And when it comes to things, too, like this podcast, I should really have more episodes in 2021 by now. Instead, I have a Letterboxd account where I've written thousands of words about movies I mostly don't even like. Anyway, Dan. Dan and I tend to talk about working together more than we actually do, but I knew he was having a bad year. He has been admirably open about it on social media. And I really wanted to do something to help cheer him up at best and just distract him for a little while at worst. So, back in October, I proposed an audio project. One good thing a day.
Just took a walk out, heading downtown, listening to the water go, and this is my happy moment right now because I'm standing out on the street and it's quiet. There are no cars. The water's rushing. And it's a beautiful foggy night.
Each day, Dan and I would record a message to each other, celebrating a good thing that happened to us that day, big or small, personal or geopolitical, whatever. We would send them to each other each day, which would serve as a reminder and sort of a social contract to require looking on the bright side, at least a little, every day. And I would save aside all of the files, and after a while we'd have this collection of positive vibes. I feel like I've been driving around all day today. I've been bouncing back and forth from Kennebunk to Rollinsford to Portsmouth, taking pictures and video for work. And, not a bad day of work, I guess. And I would say if I had to pick a thing that's the good thing for the day, it's the driving time, where I wasn't really doing too much attentive listening to podcasts or music or anything. It was kind of backgrounded, and I was sort of just alone with my thoughts, which is underrated, at least in my rating system. I usually rate it 50 out of 100 things that you can do in a car. Dan and I did this more or less regularly for a couple of months, and then we both started to taper off. We didn't really talk about stopping, we just did. A couple of months later, I asked him if we could record a podcast about our project where I could ask him whether or not it did any good.
A nice juicy hamburger.
First of all, I have the hiccups right now, which is what am I, 9?
She says, see you around, handsome.
Christy made breakfast poutine.
A full day paid shoot.
I would eat that every day for every meal until I died, which would be, of course, immediately.
I set up a princess castle in the living room.
We finished our ceiling.
I'm really hoping to turn it around and start heading in the other direction.
I'm gonna eat some tacos in my car like a real American.
Just being able to have time alone with myself and to know that I'm gonna be okay.
I just want to say here that our conversation gets pretty heavy. I really admire Dan for his fearlessness about publicly talking about his feelings. I think it's a beautiful and helpful thing. But I just want you, as a listener, to know what you're in for. If you're listening to this while jogging, I don't think you're going to set any personal land speed records today. Okay. Here we go. I brought you here today to talk about the project that we kind of got started last year, and,
right,
why we did that. And then kind of whether or not it did anything. So let's go back to like October of last year.
Right.
You're not having a great year.
October was an especially difficult month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. Should I?
Well,
my wife moved out.
yeah, I was gonna say you can say however whatever you feel comfortable saying about it, but
My wife at the time moved out and left the family home and moved immediately in with somebody else.
yowza.
That you know, not that itself affected me too much. Involving the kids was something that was more difficult for me.
Right.
Because of the message that sends.
You know, and as your friend, it was difficult because I knew you were having bad stuff go on, but it was a pandemic, you know? And it's like, what do you do? So many things happened over the course of last year where people wished they could be there for other people and couldn't. And, you know, for me, this was one such thing. And you and I always laugh about the fact that we plan more things than we do, right? And so I just had this feeling. I remember I was like, I forget when it was. I guess I feel like for one day I was like walking around a parking lot with Isaac waiting for Christina Arlo to come out of an appointment or something. And I think this is kind of where I thought of this whole idea, but I really wanted, because I did that at the time. I was doing that a lot for some reason. I was like constantly walking around parking lots holding a baby, so I had a lot of time to just think. And so I remember thinking that I wanted to try to come up with some project to do with you to kind of like take your mind off of it, you know, and then also to like actually do something for once. Like, hey, here's something we actually are doing.
Right. Yeah.
And so the concept was, you know, to record like one good thing a day. And for a while there, we were really doing it, like every day. Okay, my good thing of the day today is something called Plumber in a Can, okay? For the last couple of days, all the sinks in my house have been clogged. There's only 2 sinks in my whole house, but both of them, somewhere between the 2 where they drain out, has been clogged. And it's really been cramping my style. I have had a system sort of worked out using a bus bucket and an open window, but obviously that wasn't going to work forever. I have pumped so many chemicals into this sink system. It's like my sink is the president and I'm one of his doctors. And none of it was working. But then my mother-in-law gave us this thing called Plumber in a Can. It's just a can that shoots like a huge gust of air into your pipes. And we did it, and I'll tell you, it dislodged the clog. Whatever it was, it's gone. Sink's draining normally now. Pretty great. I just love innovation. We can do anything if we put our minds to it. Plumber in a can.
Yeah, and then it became a struggle to find the bright spots. And I lost some motivation. The early part of this year has been it's been difficult. Things were finalized in December for me personally, but there are still residual effects from the past 20 years, my entire adult life, essentially.
Right.
And winter was tough. I definitely felt the effects of the cold and the dark and the wind, the dreariness.
Yeah, a lot of your daily good things were sort of focused around like actual literal sometimes and other times figurative like warmth, you know?
Yeah.
So
I have not revisited some of those, and that is it's interesting. To hear you say that. I am.
Hey Zach, Dan here.
You know, today is a really windy, dreary day, and I've been struggling all day to stay warm. The pellet stove fired up yesterday. That was good, because it took the edge off. It was kind of dreary and cold yesterday, huh? I suppose my good thing for today is that the sun came out. I actually got to see the sun. That made a big difference. Yesterday was dreary and rainy.
So, in the first month and a half or so, when we were doing this, when we were recording one good thing a day, did it help? Do you feel like, did it only help for the moments when you had to appreciate it, or was it like, was there an overall improvement to the day when you not only just focused on trying to find something good, but then also had to talk about it?
Well, you know, I had tried to make the practice, for me, an emphasis on repeating to myself, there are happy moments every day, and it's my job to find them. And that lasted for a good long while. And I've kind of fallen out of that practice since then. And now I'm seeing that it really does make a difference. You know, I definitely felt while I was practicing that gratitude that it attracted far more positives into my life. And I've fallen out of that and struggled.
What else has helped? Like, what are the good things that, what have you looked to, you know, that have helped you feel better as you go through this stuff? What else helps other than just kind of like looking on the bright side?
My kids are important. Showing up and being present for them is important to me. You know, they're struggling through this too. And they have difficulty articulating exactly what it is that they feel. My son himself, he is already challenged in his ability to communicate and to convey his thoughts verbally. It's difficult to understand him. But he has been very clear about how he doesn't like this, how he wants things to be quote-unquote normal. And sitting with him and listening, letting him have that moment, have that opportunity to express himself. You know, that's incredibly important to me, to be that kind of father to him. Mm-hmm. That validates his feelings and what he is experiencing, even though I can't do anything to change it. It's done.
Yeah, but I mean, you are changing it, right? By hearing it. By hearing what he's saying and by validating that, that's huge, particularly if someone has trouble communicating about anything, but about communicating your feelings, right? I remember I learned this phrase when I was learning about like adverse childhood experiences. They talked about name it to tame it. And it's talking about just the idea that having the words to name your feelings, that's the thing that calms kids down. When kids are upset, being able to say, I'm upset, is what calms him down. So anything that you can do to validate his experience, even though it sucks to hear, right? To hear him say that he doesn't like this, that what he's going, he's unhappy and wants to go back to normal, that's super tough to hear. But the fact that you're hearing it is the number one thing you can do to alleviate it and make it better for him.
And, I see it as a great responsibility to continue that, to be that parent.
Yeah.
Who is able to offer that kind of understanding and that validation, because, I in part sought that for myself, and it was elusive and seemingly impossible to attain. And to be able to come through and offer that in return, or in lieu of, that who knows what the long-term effects of that are going to be. This is all very new to me.
Yeah. Well, that's the difficult thing about this kind of experience, right? Is that it only happens to you one time. You don't get to remember, the last time this happened. There's no such thing.
Yeah. God forbid. My good thing for the day is these two kids. These two kids that I get to spend time with. And we're all just hanging out, snuggling right now, getting ready for bed.
Hey, Daddy, what are you doing?
What are you grateful for today?
I'm grateful for Daddy and Farina. And Farina's super cute.
No, I know. I mean, I think it's great to not only to be that kind of father, but to recognize that you're doing it too. Because I don't think I had that kind of relationship with my father really at any point, but I think it's not the kind of thing I can blame him for, because I think it's something I never really sought. I think I learned to channel my own feelings and thoughts into other stuff, into other public stuff. I was making a public access TV show when I was 14 years old. I started moving all of my feelings externally like that, and dealing with it with my friends and through art and everything. But I remember when my parents got divorced, I was in the 5th grade, and I was the middle child, right? So I had an older sister and a younger brother, and it kind of felt like they each got assigned a parent. Okay, sister, you are the child assigned to the mother during this divorce, and my younger brother, you are the child assigned to my father during this divorce. And I was a free agent, and being the conflict-averse middle child, my reaction was, great, leave me out of this completely. I'll check in with all you guys in a couple years when the dust settles. And so, and I don't necessarily think that was bad for me. But I do think probably my relationship with my father would be stronger now if we were more communicative during that time.
This, my relationship with my now former mother-in-law has grown. I have seen changes in her as well, that encourage me, and witnessed the continued dedication that she has to those kids, which has been a blessing to me. It's interesting how relationships evolve. And, it's going to continue for the rest of our lives. And finding the people that really do matter and letting them know that they matter and why they matter is significant, I believe. It's important to tell people that they matter, to let them know the good that you see in them, and to not focus solely on the negatives.
Right.
Struggling with that a lot this week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know. My heart goes out to you, man. I feel like I feel like all I can do, this is what I do, right? This is me. I'm like, everything I do has like a meta angle to it, So like, I want to talk to you about your feelings, to ask you if talking about your feelings makes you feel better, right? But that's the way I think about everything. That's like how my brain works. It's the way I reach out to people. It's a little weird, but
it's not easy for a lot of people. I think for me, I have I've been far more open than people expected or would expect from a man of my age, my place here, what they know of me through, the past 20 years. But I feel like sharing experience, good and bad, is how we help others grow as well. I learn through experience, and when I can avoid or lessen the negative impacts of circumstances, that has a benefit to me, and that comes through listening to other people's stories. That comes through sharing some of those difficulties and those challenges in a way where you have to make yourself a little vulnerable, admit that you're not perfect. We try to put on these airs and let people see us in all our glory, when that's not how the sausage gets made.
No.
Yeah, it's ugly.
I feel like, we joked earlier, we were saying, like, you're not going to have to go through this again. But that's true. You raised a good point, which is that so many people that you know are, in fact, going to go through something like this, or have already, and maybe didn't go through it with the same degree of sort of transparency and introspection that you did, and maybe you're even retroactively helping them, through some stuff that they never got through. I think, the theme of the next 10 years of the world in general is going to be, dealing with the delayed impact of trauma. There's so much that people have put off dealing with and are going to have to deal with now, and they're gonna need the tools to do it.
Yeah.
So
there's an apprehension to being too open, and revealing too much about oneself, because it seems to me that people view that kind of vulnerability as weakness. And I've never really viewed it as such. I want to make progress. I want to experience growth. And for me, at least, the way that I accomplish that is by verbalizing what is going on. I have not found that expressive outlet for myself, or it was I was severely unmotivated over the recent years, thinking, oh well, I can't spend time doing things that aren't making money for the household. I can't go off and do a creative experiment if or spend too much time on creative experiments if it isn't contributing to the bottom line. Whether or not that was self-imposed, I don't know. That's how it felt. And I feel like now the residual effects of what I've experienced over the past few years will take some time. You know, I want it to be over with. People tell me, "Oh, you should feel great. You're free." But it's not that easy for me.
That's such like a Vince Vaughn character in a movie thing to say. You know what I mean? Like, people just say that because they think that's what they're supposed to say. I don't think anybody really feels that way.
Yeah. It's a good way of putting it. He does say what he thinks everybody wants to, what he should say.
Yeah. Well, you know, I do think that I think that knowing that talking through it and expressing it out loud in some way helps you, again, is like the majority of the battle. You know what I mean? Like, you say that you want to experience growth, therefore you will, right? Like, it's the people that don't articulate or crystallize or whatever in their heads or out loud or whatever, people who don't articulate that desire in some way, who don't. It's like, it's name entertainment again, right? It's like, you say you want to do it, you'll do it. It's so funny. I hate that I like speak in these like rhyming phrases now. This is what all the stuff I've learned about over the last year or so has done to me. Now I talk like this. I don't like it. I don't like speaking in rhymes. I'm not Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
How do you feel like you check in on that growth? How do you? Can you? Do you like... I was thinking about this the other day because I was listening back to an old podcast, which is like a weird document of my own brain from a couple of years ago. And I can hear in myself the beginnings of goals that I would later realize, you know, without even necessarily knowing that I wanted it at the time. I can hear in the things that I'm saying what I want. And I can look back and be like, hey, you did get that thing. So, but I would not have known. I would not have known that I wanted that before, or that I got to a point emotionally or whatever where I had reached that goal. If I hadn't gone back and listened to this podcast, I would have no idea. I'd just be like blissfully walking through my life, unaware that I have achieved any growth whatsoever. So how do you check in with yourself?
That is a really good question, because it's going to require time. And for me, just significant changes just this week in my my other friendships and relationships. and seeing how my struggles, especially over the past few months, have really left me stagnant. You know, that's it's going to take some renewed introspection. It's going to take some renewed diligence and documentation. And by documentation, I mean, you know, journaling and writing out my thoughts. I've got this great little vintage typewriter that I love
Nice.
typing out on because I like the sound of it. And it is, I had been writing on it every morning for, you know, about 2 weeks, and then I started waffling. So, you know, I think proving to myself my own ability to discipline and to follow through, and to see things through to their culmination point. You know, whether that is deciding that something is no longer worth the effort, but has served me well, or seeing other things, other projects, other efforts through to a completion point. You know, I've got a lot of soul searching ahead of me. I look for meaning in things. And I hate feeling like things don't matter in life. So, I mean, to answer the question, I don't know. I'm not doing a really good job of checking in on that growth right now. Check back with me in a month, 2 months. Check in with me over the summer.
Well, maybe we gotta start doing the thing again. Maybe we gotta start doing the one good
All right.
day thing again.
Maybe.
I'll give you the day off today, but tomorrow.
Okay. Right now, if you knew what I was going through, which is a lot, to be honest, but if you knew, you know, through all this time, it's nice to have friends that you can call upon and get a little bit of that support that you need along the way. So that's what tonight was. Anyway, heading home now. Got about an hour drive, but even that is going to be great.